And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tonight's forecast showing this front kind of stalled out here from low pressure over the Yukon Delta, extending down into another low just south of the Alaska Peninsula. So rain continues here along the frontal boundary there and across Kodiak. Some of that's starting to work up into the southern Cook Inlet area. Otherwise, better conditions back out to the west, especially along the Aleutians here. This system dropping southeastwards, pushing in toward the Pribilofs late tonight. And diminishing showers here over the central and southern panhandle. Should stay dry to the north. Juneau on up to Haines and probably Yakutat. Just isolated showers now over the southeast interior. Pretty good conditions up there to the north, all the way to the Arctic coast. And then for tomorrow, a lot of sunshine here from the north slope southward, as you can see, right into about the Alaska Range. Partly sunny skies, the Sitna Valley becoming mostly cloudy down toward Cook Inlet. And then a chance of some light precipitation, southern Kenai Peninsula, western Prince William Sound, as well as Kamishak Bay there. And then along this front here from Bristol Bay on up into Norton Sound and the Seward Peninsula, could see some light mixed precipitation there. And really isolated, widely scattered showers for the panhandle with light wind conditions. And out to the west here, this low track southeastward there, bringing rain into the Pribilof Islands, and the trough extending some rain into the central Aleutians and as far east as Unalaska. And then it looks pretty wet for the day Sunday here over the, well, actually the Aleutians here and the Fox Islands on up into the Pribilofs. Not too bad here over the central and eastern interior with just a chance of moisture there along the Alaska Range. Should be a dry day for Cook Inlet, and then this trough will bring some showers into the southeast coast. And for Saturday, tomorrow, pretty light winds here along the outer coastline, anywhere from 5 to mostly 10 knots. Lynn Canal, southeast at 15, southeast at 10 for Stevens Passage. Light winds for Clarence Strait, but those seas up around 5 feet. And the outlook for Sunday on the south coast here, south to southeast winds 15 knots, east-southeast 15 on the central coast, and east 15 to 20 knots on the north coast. Lynn Canal, winds right out of the east at only 10 knots with 2-foot seas, southeast winds at 10 knots for the central and southern inner channels. And for the North Gulf Coast, tomorrow, east to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots here, strongest on the west side. Prince William Sound, southeast at 15. Cook Inlet, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots. Southeast winds 25 to 30 knots for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. And then for the day Sunday, northeast at 15 for Cook Inlet, 4-foot seas. Light southeast winds now for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. And for the North Gulf Coast, east winds 15 to 20 knots, east at 15 for Prince William Sound. Kodiak Island, east-southeast, 20 to 25 knots for the first day of the weekend. And west-northwest, 15 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. West winds at 10 for Bristol Bay. And light wind conditions here for Sunday for most areas here, all areas actually. Variable winds 10 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. East at 15 for Bristol Bay, and variable winds 10 to 15 knots for Kodiak Island. And for the eastern Aleutians, small craft advisories tomorrow, west winds 30 knots with 5 to 9-foot seas. Small craft advisories also for the central Aleutians, west winds 25 knots. And then lighter winds as you head west here, mostly out of the west at 15 to maybe 25 knots. And for the area from Kiska to Shemya on Sunday, southwest winds out there at 20 knots. For Adak and Atka, northwest winds 20 knots and northwest winds 20 to 25 knots for the eastern Aleutians. For the southwest coast, south and Nunivak Island, northeast winds at 10 knots, west 15 for the Yukon Delta coast. Norton Sound looking at a small craft advisory for southeast winds at 25 knots, lighter southeast winds for St. Lawrence Island, and north winds at 25 knots for St. Matthew Island. And then for the day on Sunday, starting with the Pribilofs down here, northwest at 20 knots with 8-foot seas, west at 20 for St. Matthew Island. And for Norton Sound and the St. Lawrence Island area, southeast at 15 knots. Light southeast breeze at 10 knots here for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta coastline, seas only at 3 feet. For the Chukchi Sea tomorrow, we've got east winds 15 to 20 knots, otherwise the western Arctic coast. Variable winds at 5 to 10 knots and west at 15 for the central coast. West winds 20 to 25 knots for the eastern coastline. And then for the day on Sunday, southeast winds 15 knots for the Chukchi Sea, southeast at 10 for the western Arctic coast, central coast southwest at 15, and still looking at west winds of 15 to 20 knots for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast.